And how's it kicking, my ninjas? This is Ijo Ujo here, and I'm coming back at you today with a new video. Yes! This video, as you can see from the title, is called Let's Talk Tech. So, for starters, let me say, I have a long list of cards that I keep around. Some are in my mind, some are just kind of floating in thin air, and some I read a card and then I read it a second time and I'm like, holy hell, that does that. Well, this is a video explaining, a little bit of my list as far as tech options go. Now, some of these are very bluntly obvious, these two piles, and some of these are way out there, like, what the hell? But this is just, and as you can see, guys, I fixed my little lighting problem. Yeah, no flash on, flash off. No, when it's, I've got good light, and then you get, like, flashed out of hell, and you get glared to hell. You see that you can actually read this Majesty's Fiend, though it has one line of text. This is like a great accomplishment to me, so don't take my accomplishment away. Thank you. Now, let's dive right into this and what the hell I'm even talking about. So let's talk tech. First of all, let's explain what this even begins to mean. Tech is basically those one or two of cards that you add in your deck, and they're meant to fight a specific metagame. Now, for starters, let me say this. You're very wrong if you're approaching tech as, I'm going to put one morale tech at... That's funny. I'm going to put one morale tech in my deck and tech it in at this tournament. And no one's going to see that coming. And it's going to do well every now and again because I'm going to set it and somebody's going to twin twist to me thinking they're going to blow me out. And then surprise, they hit a morale tech and now I get to pop a card and now I get to, it progresses the game and I get a free rank 5 that turn or blah, blah, blah. This is the wrong way to approach tech. The correct way to approach tech is, what the hell does this metagame look like? And what are these not as consistent but very powerful linear cards in this or that specific scenario, or this and that specific deck, that in that specific metagame help me turn that matchup from sometimes less favorable or unwinnable even to topsy-turvy, completely winnable, completely lopsided. I mean, if you want to beat that deck, you're going to landslide beat it all day long. So if you plan on facing 6 or 7 PK Fire decks and you're playing, Monarch, you should probably be maining Majesty's Fiend because it just, if that's the metagame, if that's what the metagame, that's the hostile environment that you're going into, Majesty Fiend and Vanity's Fiend, those cards just poop all over that deck. And you're just going to have an excellent time in that metagame, and you're going to keep it kicking, my ninja. You're going to, what the? You're going to kick them in the ass. So that's the way, at least in my opinion, that's the correct way to approach tech. That's the way I've always approached it as, what does this metagame look like, and how exactly am I planning, or what angle am I attacking this metagame at? And when I figure out that angle, those are the cards, or those are the type of cards that I slot into my deck in order to just kind of spin the matchups in my favor. But let me also say this. When you're teching your deck out, you're decreasing consistency. So you're building your deck on purpose as a glass cannon. It's not going to define the metagame. It's not going to change the way the metagame is. It's legitimately just meant to destroy one tournament. It's good for one event only, usually. Sometimes tech does turn into the meta. We've seen this happen before. However, usually tech is designed to just come in, blast one event, and just try to take the trophy home, or get you a top, or get you, secure you a really high finish in order to get an ads invite or a worlds invite or whatnot like that. So I have, as you can see here, 4 piles of cards that I want to talk about here. The first pile over here, these are your pinpoint tech cards. The cards that are going to do very well in a specific matchup. Yes, Maxi is in here, I get that, but Maxi is a tech card nonetheless. It's not good in a not special summon heavy environment. If the environment is all control decks, what the hell does this card even do? Refer back to the hat format. Notable cards sticking out here is like Forbidden Scripture. I think this card is very good. It's just it can't find a metagame or a deck that wants an effect like this to call home. So basically, I'm going to zoom up on the card. Focus. Okay. Well, basically, what this card says is, if you battle, if your monster battles an opponent's monster, you get to turn off everything until the end of the damage step. And I mean everything. No matter what, if they have a Tinky face up on the field. Doesn't matter. It just turns it all off. And the monsters battle with their original stat line. So if there's something that is boosting or altering either one of our attacks or defenses, null and void completely. And now remember, this change isn't permanent. So it doesn't shrink the monster. It doesn't take it away forever. It just takes it away for that battle. Now this is actually very good considering how many times, you get into a fight and, you're trying to get something to push through like a farm girl and you can't. This is not good with farm girl. This is not what I'm saying because that card has a very wimpy attack. But I don't, and I'm not saying that I have all the answers. You don't have the answers, Sway. Kanye West. What a joke. But anyway, I don't have the answers. I don't know exactly what the hell deck this card falls in. I just really like the card. I think it's a very powerful card. I think it just needs to find a home somewhere. Sometimes cards can be out for years and never, ever, ever see play. But there's a reason this card's a secret rare. So be on the lookout for this card, maybe 2 to 3 years down the road, or maybe the card will never do anything at all. But if it does, have you 1 or 2, or, trade for one and get it as a throw-in or something like that, and have you one sitting around, because this card has a lot of potential. It's a very powerful card. I just don't know where it needs a home at. But this is, I really specifically put this pile together as like pinpoint tech. These are the cards like that you usually see as a 1 of or a 2 of, never usually a 3 of, except for like Maxi. This card's a very powerful effect, but like you never really see these cards as a 3 of. This one specifically because you can't anymore. This would be a 3 of, obviously, but nonetheless, these are the cards you just need to get one good effect out of, and these completely change the flow of how the game's even going. When these cards have very deceptively powerful effects, and they take skill to actually play. Especially cards like Enemy Controller, because a well-timed, well-played Enemy Controller can completely swing how a game's going. You can go from a losing situation to a winning situation, all because you played this card correctly. This video is not to tell you every of the 1,000 scenarios that you can play these cards in. And by the way, this is a Solemn Scolding, if you didn't tell from the picture. But it's just to kind of point out a bunch of cards that I think have a lot of potential as like text, especially in this format. Now, some of these will be for future formats or something like that, and I'm like I said, I'm going to make a bunch of videos tonight, so be on the lookout for all of them to get uploaded. So, I mean, these right here, this is my tech of the future. Like, what cards, these are very linear cards, but they're boss in certain formats. These are the cards you'll see usually very much so like 1 of to 2 of, possibly even 3 of, unless the format prevents it. But these are the cards that break a matchup in half. This is my sleeper card of this pile. I think this card has a ton of potential. It's called Deep Dark Trap Hole. Whenever a or multiples of a level 5 or higher effect monster is summoned, you just straight up banish that target. And that's a pretty powerful effect, especially considering how many popular synchros and just summonable monsters just get special summoned, and you can just straight up banish them. It doesn't destroy them, so it gets around any like destruction negation, and it doesn't target. The only problem with this card is it doesn't negate the effect of the monster, so that's why you've never really seen it see a lot of play. I've seen it see some niche and fringe play, but not too much. But like I said, this isn't to explain every single like scenario that the card can be good in. This is just to kind of show you a bunch of my like sleeper cards and just explain, tech and a little bit deeper analysis. So this is just a pile that like my future tech and also cards that are good in, very, very, very niche formats. Like controlling formats, usually you'll see a lot of these cards because the special summon decks get hurt by effects like these 3, and the 1-for-1 pound-for-pound decks get hurt by effects like these 2 because they take, or it's specifically Treacherous and Deep Dark, because they take a lot of cards away from your opponent all at once. So that's what this pile is meaning, or this pile is for it, rather. This pile is your very, very, very niche, usually going to very specific decks pile. You would never have seen that back in the day, like, oh, Torrential goes into very specific decks. What the hell are you talking about, Ijo? But in fact, in this day and age, it does, because usually in this game, this is all, the game. The way the game is played now is all about who can make the biggest, baddest ass field, And you usually, it's just like back in Dino Rabbit when you played Torrential. You really didn't want to play Torrential even though you had access to 2 of them. It was because you were giving up the better field half the time. So when you're torrentialing away double Logia or Logia Dolka, what the hell did you just solve here? You stopped one summon, but you gave away two just softlock monsters for no damn reason, and you invested a lot of resources in those monsters, especially in a control format. You really can't afford to give that up like that. So this is just food for thought. These are like blowout cards that when played in the correct, in the correct hands, these are blowout cards. In the wrong hands, these are 1-for-1s or, 2-for-1s, but really your opponent, forced you to use them. They played properly into them because even though you read the card, a lot of the times there's no getting around it. You just have to, sacrifice the right amount of things with the right cards to it. Now, specifically, I wanted to talk about this card right here, Mega Raiza. Everybody knows about Mega Caius. This card is very niche in Monarchs. Sometimes you see it main, but it's very fringe. Usually you see it sided for killing all the Erebuses. But let's talk about Mega Raiza. This card is sick, I think. I mean, like I said, I don't know all the applications for the card. I don't know what kind of Monarch deck wants to see this. I mean, I think I do. It's like a Monarch control deck. But realistically, you really kind of don't want to draw this card, but if you have access to it in your deck, this card can do a lot of damage. First and foremost, what the hell I didn't know was, okay, let's go over its effect. So it can be tributed by tribute summon and tribute monster, blah, 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 but it spins a card on the field and in either player's graveyard. Now, obviously, the part that's in either player's graveyard, you want to pick yours because it puts that card back to the hand, and the card that it spins on the field, it spins into the top of the deck. One of the reasons why you don't play this card is because you can't play it turn one, because it'll have to like spin itself back to the top of your deck. And what the hell really are you trying to recoup in Monarchs that you can't already get back, right? So, and if you tribute a win monster, you get to spin 2 cards off the field, which is, I mean, that's like, if you can optimize that effect, that's sick, because you can just hit 2 cards and put them back on the top, and yeah, fist pump. But basically, I think this card has a lot of potential because it can get you back your side deck cards, and that's a big deal. So, yeah, like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to keep saying that. And finally, you have this doesn't need any explaining. These are the cards that are seeing play in today's metagame. These are your Floodgate tech cards. Now, these are tech, regardless of what people like to say. These are very much so tech cards. How are they tech cards? Because sometimes, mostly you'll see these in the side deck, but sometimes you main deck them to get an edge on the format. This is more so not a tech card anymore. This is just a staple, but this is a soft lock card. The reason I really picked this out is because it doesn't see as much play in this day and age because, I mean, there's just so many outs to it. Twin Twister really hurt this card. It's still great, but Twin Twister really hurt it. In Monarch decks, I really think everybody should be playing Eradicator because it really just locks out the mirror match. And Skill Drain, this is my absolute favorite card in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I topped 2 regionals. My first 2 regionals I ever topped was with Skill Drain, and I won with Black Wings with Skill Drain on the side. So this has a very, very, very near and dear place in my heart. And finally, like cards like March of the Monarchs, this card creates soft lock boards. It's not that great of a card altogether. I don't like it personally. I've never really tried to play with it, but in the right hands, this card can lock an opponent out with if you have let's imagine this is any Floodgate card, but if you have any Floodgate card in this and like your Majesty's Fiend, what the hell does your opponent do to that? They just can't. They're just locked out of the game. So this is just, I mean, this isn't like a very deep analysis video. This is just something, just a couple of piles of cards that I wanted to show everybody. Like, I think a lot about the game, like I said, in a bunch of early videos. And this is just like specifically explaining just tech altogether and just showing you a bunch of different options for tech choices. Think a lot about different cards to attack the metagame if you're thinking about teching cards, and always assess what the card is going to do in about, you want a tech card to work about 70% of the time. So this card that won't work is about 70% of the time, but this card will, so this will see a lot more play. So that doesn't make this card bad. That doesn't mean it's unplayable completely. It's just that's how you assess deck building. And like I said, this is a part of my Road to Greatness series. And on the Road to Greatness, I'm always going to be talking a lot more about deck building than anything else because this is my favorite thing to do. This is my absolute favorite pastime. And it's just, honestly, if you learn how to deck build properly and you learn how to use your tech to your advantage, you can win a lot more games that way. So that's about it for this video. Keep it kicking, my ninjas, and I'll see you in the comments or the end of the next video. Ciao.